Hey you guys, happy Friday. So this week for my aha video, I want to talk about work ethic. I think for me this week, my aha was what work ethic really is. I really felt like Mr. Henry Flowers did a really well job describing to these children what work ethic really means. And I like some of the things he said. I even made some notes about how Mr. Henry is talking about what work ethic really is. It is about hard work, it's about learning, it's about success, it's about goals. And this is so true. Like, what does a person need to do to reach their goals? And the way that they get there as they move, that is what work ethic really is. And my aha was in terms of all the chatter you hear. You hear it about millennials, you hear it probably in your own workplace about different people. Oh, they have a bad work ethic. A lot of work ethic is based on phones, which if you read some of my posts, I don't even know why we call them phones anymore, because they're seriously supercomputers in our hands, and there are so many things a person can be doing, and it may not be unethical in any way. Dictionary, calculator, there are some really awesome, simple resources right there in someone's hand. Just because they're looking at their phone does not mean they're texting or, talking, calling, whatever. It can be a lot of different things now that these phones are computers. But that's not what work ethic is about. If you can multitask and text someone, that doesn't make you have bad work ethics. If you have goals and you're working for something in the future, this is what good work ethics is. When you're a good student and you're going to school and you're going to class, you're doing the homework, you're seeking out tutoring, these are things that mean good work ethics. And for me, there's a ton of chatter in our office about work ethics constantly. And none of the chatter is anything like what Mr. Flowers describes, even Dr. Ozit describes. Around here, it's always about when someone walks to the cafeteria to get a drink. They just had lunch, now they went to cafeteria. How unethical. Perhaps they were going to meet with somebody and stopped on their way. Always assuming good. That's a good element of work ethic. If someone's on their phone, is this bad work ethic? This is a constant discussion in our office. And it's not. I mean, there are people who legitimately use their phones to Google things, look up things, definitions. In fact, maybe they're being even more ethical than you know, because they are furthering themselves. I know recently I was in a meeting and there was a discussion happening, and I had no idea what some of the terms meant, and I was Googling several of those terms to catch myself up so that I understood. I think that we need to stop trying to define who's ethical by the clock. Are they here right at 8? Are they leaving at 5? It should be project-based. I think having flexibility and letting someone do their job is ethical. So here there's a lot of discussions about where people work, why, remote versus in the office, people calling in sick. If the job's getting done, then that is being ethical. I put in a ton of extra hours one week when we had a gun incident on our campus, and then that person was threatening our Facebook page. It would have been unethical for me not to have worked outside of the hours of 8 to 5 to take care of the threat that was on our Facebook page, for instance. He posted about 5:30 a.m. and by 6 a.m. my boss and I both were involved, and he was blocked from our page ultimately by, say, 6:05, and the VP of Student Services knew this. I was late that day. Chatter started how I was unethical, but what they didn't know is instead of getting up and getting ready, I was already working. So I think that the misconception of what is ethical and what really is what talked to me this week. I like what Henry Flower had to say. I passed on his video to my husband who teaches middle school, and we talked about it for our children too, because work ethic is a very important thing, and we want to teach our children good work ethic. Dr. Ozit, he had a lot of good things to say in the work ethics, and I really took to heart what he was talking about as a parent. I have 2 kids, and I see their work ethic now that I see it defined as goals, learning, success. My 2 children are very different. My daughter's very motivated, goal-oriented. She already knows, what high school she wants to go to, what college she wants to go to, and she's 10. My son, on the other hand, we struggle every day, and I see that I really have a lot of teaching to do. I need to explain to him the difference between playtime versus work time. In fact, that became part of our vocabulary this week. And my husband and I discussed some of the volunteer work that I do and how we're going to use that to teach work ethics, because it's directly related to my son. He is in Boy Scouts, and he really wanted to do this, and we had some trouble finding the right thing for him, and he loved Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, thankfully. So they didn't have a den leader, and I just couldn't take him not being able to do this extracurricular activity that I wanted to, so I volunteered and I stepped up. And this is for him, and there are times that I have to take my work ethic out and showcase it. And right now, my husband and I are pointing that out to my son because he lacks interest in so many things. I think he likes video games a lot. And this book is helping me realize. So, Boy Scouts, the other night, the pack leader, I had texted her some questions, and she asked, could I please call you? That conversation turned into an hour. My son was not in bed, even though my husband, was telling him he had school the next day. And we just talked to him. We sat down and talked to him about this. Look, Mom volunteers. Why does she do this? We talked about the goals. We talked about community. We then used the night for an example, how sometimes you have to give up time. And I had done that, and he needed to be in bed and get in bed. We let him ask questions. So for us this week, we really came together, and we want to focus on this idea of teaching our son good work ethics. And for us, we really came to terms with what that means. And as I said, there's a difference between my son and daughter, and that's because my daughter's very goal-oriented. So she has these goals that she's working towards, and I see that work ethic in her that Henry Flowers describes, that Dr. Ozit describes, and actually several of the articles I read. With these goals, she's working hard to achieve them, and she's learning, and she's following processes. That's good work ethic. My son, he's younger, and he doesn't have goals. Like I said, we had a hard time finding extracurricular activities he enjoyed, and now that we have one, we're really going to use it to our advantage, and I'm excited. It's a good character building program as well, but we can teach him about work ethics through his involvement, and also I'm able to model good work ethics. So that was pretty awesome. In terms of millennials and work ethics, I think there really is a disconnect that in many times people say millennials are not ethical, and what's happening is the definition isn't the same. In fact, my research this week proved to me that millennials do want the same thing as other people. The Harvard Business Review had a great article, What Do Millennials Really Want at Work? The same thing the rest of us do. And this is by Bruce Fu. And according to Mr. Fu, there are those conventional work ethic ideas about millennials that they're entitled, they're easily distracted, they're impatient, they're absorbed, they're lazy. Well, in fact, there's not a big difference in work ethic between the generations, according to Mr. Fu. According to research, the meaningful difference among generations probably does not exist in the workplace, he says. And what millennials actually want is the exact same thing as other generations. They want to make a positive impact on their organization. Millennials want to do meaningful work. The good work ethic, just like you have, they might carry it out a little different. Maybe they use their phones or whatever, but they want to do meaningful work. They want to move their organizations forward. They also want to become an expert in their field, just like other generations have worked really hard for. So they do have good work ethics. And this week I really focused in on what it means to have a good work ethic and how I could apply that in my employment and apply that as a parent to children of Generation Tex. And I think that, as Mr. Henry Flowers said, having goals is critical to good work ethic, and that learning, being able to learn something and do it and carry it out. That work ethic is not about what you do in the moment, which it is, making the right choice when you need to, but it's about working and learning and making it to a goal, giving it what it takes so that you can succeed and you define your own success. And we see this in work ethics when it comes to work, to school, parenting. There's so many areas. So for me this week, I really just dug into what does it mean to be ethical when it comes to work. And now I hope to take that information, apply it in my own job, and especially use it to teach my children. Thank you.